Hello, once again. We are back here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast after a couple weeks off and some trips around the world, some trips to Comic-Con, some summer vacation action. But we are back. Yes, indeed. It's your boy Heel Will Mahoney here with the whole crew. We got the Four Horsemen kind of going on tonight. Of course, we got 2 Chains coming in. I'm kind of standing in for here, making the recording happen on the Skype machine tonight. That's for 2 Chains.
What's up, dude?
We got Silly Sellis coming in. He was the last man to tag in tonight to join the crew.
Hey, call me the anchor leg too. I'll be the 4th leg to try to finish the race off.
And of course, it would not be a show without the giant crab. Jamal is in the house tonight as the 4th man.
Well, I thought Silly Sellis was the 4th man. He's the anchor.
Oh, I'm already messing up trying to.
Are you giving me like the championship entrance where the champ goes last? I mean, what are you doing?
There you go. That's the spin we need. I was saying either that or you got to be at least in because heck, you before me, so I mean you got to be up there near the top, one way or another. We will figure it out. We're a bit out of practice this week, but we are back, and we are back just in time because this has been a very busy last few days as we are coming out of SummerSlam, NXT, Toronto Adventures with Raw and SmackDown, a mega WWE weekend, the G1 ending in New Japan, people getting signed, people returning. There is just like a mountain of stuff that has happened in it, and not even the whole last week. I would say like the last 5 days. And there is no way I think we can cover it all, but we can at least cherry pick the good stuff and what got our attention and what we really enjoyed. And I think we got to start at the beginning. We got to start with Toronto. We got to start with, I figure, NXT and SummerSlam and talk about what WWE has been up to because they have had a heck of a week. It all started with TakeOver on Saturday with Gargano and Cole Part 3 and a few other matches. Of course, they always defend all the titles at the NXT TakeOver, and I'll just start right here with 2 Chains, and we'll go down the line. 2 Chains, what got your attention? What were you all about at NXT TakeOver? And we're keeping it positive here on the Big Gold Belt Podcast.
That's right.
We like to do.
That's right. First off, I got to say, while I'm wearing my Primetime Pro Wrestling shirt right now, it is damn good feeling to of all the wrestling that's happening in our area. Man, have we been busy with so many shows left and right in this area. Although there was no shows last week during this big week of stuff, I'm just really legit thinking about it. Like, there's so much wrestling here in this Washington D.C. area. It literally starts to feel like its own little celebration in its own at times. So that's pretty cool. Did I lose you guys, or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Marcel's look like he's zoned out right there. Doesn't he look like he's like?
No, I'm researching my notes.
Okay. I was like, what's happening? But no, seriously. I think Dr. M could come full circle with me if he was here tonight. From going to the Mae Young Classic about a week of a year ago. Am I saying that right? Whatever. From going from the Mae Young Classic last year to TakeOver this year, seeing not even just that, but seeing Miriam's story from her injury in this area up at Nova Pro to her return at Beyond at Mania weekend, which was 2018, to her being in the Mae Young Classic later on in the year, to her going against Shayna Baszler at TakeOver and that really dope interest that she has. Seeing that whole story come full circle and to hear her stories and the vignette about it and know how genuine and how passionate, how authentic it is, that was legit the biggest moment for me easily because like I seeing how hard she worked to get back and to still be really that humble and to literally have doubted herself is like an amazing story of itself, just for the match to just be that damn good as well too. So like that was legit the biggest thing for me in TakeOver.
The women's title, bringing it in Toronto last Saturday night.
Yeah.
Let's go Silly Sellis because there was a lot of stuff on this card. NXT TakeOver. What caught your eye?
It was, and actually it was tag team wrestling with the Street Profits. I'm getting more impressed by them Because at first I was like, when they first came out, is it going to be something like Crime Time? Is it going to be something that's like a spinoff where you're using a gimmick more than wrestling? But now I'm seeing them as a wrestling more than a gimmick. Even when they was on Raw for the past couple of weeks, doing their little spinoffs, their vignettes, their little backstage commercials, I was wondering where it was going to go from this. But seeing them more and more in the ring, it makes me excited to see them, because now I'm seeing the storytelling they're doing in the ring. And now I see why they're holding a tag team championship. But my biggest thing, and I'm going to stay positive with this, what potential can they do when they get to the main roster? Because I really want this tag team division to be where it should be, with the amount of talent that WWE has from NXT to Raw to SmackDown, or what they can really do with this section of the brand. So I really want tag team wrestling to continue to build up and go where it needs to be.
I'm glad to hear you mention the Street Profits, because they definitely, the last 2 takeovers, they've raised their stock. They haven't got to wrestle on the main shows yet, but we're seeing them every week on Raw. So they're being featured as characters, which isn't a bad thing. That's definitely raising their profile. And if this deal ends up happening where NXT ends up on FS1, which seems to be becoming more and more of a done deal as the days go by, then they're going to be in a prime position to be a featured act on there by the time October or whenever this fall rolls around, if that becomes a thing. So they're in a really good position right now, and obviously an act that WWE is looking at for the future, whether it's on the main brands or on NXT or wherever they're going to put them. There's a lot of things they can do with them. They're a young team with a lot of miles left on them, and they've definitely, I would say, in the last 6 months, lots of improvement there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
So, the giant crab.
All right. So the long and short of it is, I watched absolutely 0 seconds of NXT TakeOver, and this was the first time since TakeOver became a thing that I wasn't invested in any match on the card.
NXT drove you off.
Say it again?
NXT Bridgeport drove you off.
well, honestly, after Bridgeport, is there anything else?
That's true.
I mean, obviously a year ago, I said that I would be in Toronto. I wanted to be in Toronto.
Right.
And I anticipated there'd be a lot of indie events in Toronto. And then I looked at the matches that they were building towards for TakeOver, and I wasn't really invested in any of them. We had a lot of rehash. I don't believe that NXT believes in Mia Yim, so that's if that is what it is. I just think that NXT has kind of booked himself into a corner where a lot of people are over for different reasons. And it makes it very hard to see who's going to win or who's going to lose, and why, personally, I should commit to that. I hear it's a great show. It's TakeOver, and it should be a great show. But as far as doing other things and watching a typically great NXT TakeOver, I went to the State Fair or the county fair in Gaithersburg.
Also, I've been to that one. I've been to that one with the Demolition Derby and the Agricultural Fair and all that.
Sure.
I've been to that one. That's a good state fair. That's a good one.
Also, is that the one that they were saying it was not going to be funded for next year, but end up being funded for next year now, as of some recent news?
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I heard it was good as well too. I've never been, so interesting.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Interesting.
It's a fine summertime night out. That's for sure. No, that sentiment, I can agree with that sentiment in that I know a lot of people who are kind of underwhelmed by this takeover compared to a lot of them. I haven't really seen anyone saying that they thought it was bad, but there was definitely people kind of this is a lot of rematches. They're treading water. I'm ready for something new. They weren't into the main event because it was, like I said, it was the third time they've done Gargano and Cole. So there was definitely some of that sentiment going around even before the show happened. So I'm not surprised to hear anyone was underwhelmed or just not feeling it before the show even happened. Yeah. Now, for me personally, the match that blew me away, my match of that show easily, my girl Io Shirai. We got to talk about Io Shirai raising her stock finally in WWE and kind of putting her stamp out there that, oh, y'all don't think I'm going to be like just coasting here because I came to the States. I'm going to get this WWE paycheck and everything. Stardom Io Shirai showed up against Candice LeRae last Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to add to that, and that shows why sometimes playing the heel character is so much easier and so much funner in wrestling because you have people that can be, you know, a little bit of themselves and like have fun with it because you really can't make no mistakes. I remember a long time ago, bringing a football reference, Cordell Stewart, a former quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, said sometimes he loves to play on the road because when he makes a mistake, they cheer. And it correlates to being a heel because when you're a heel and a wrestler, even if you make a mistake, nobody's going to like boo you out the gym in a way, in a negative way. They can boo you in a positive way because it brings more heat to your character. So it's so much easier to play that heel role. And that's how you saw, you know, how she did on Saturday. And I think it kind of really just flowed to let her naturally do her wrestling thing and show how good she is to the WWE audience.
Yeah, I agree.
The infusion of personality that it adds to her is, I think it was so key because everyone knew she could wrestle. You know, there's no question there. We know she's one of the best, but that added swagger, that added extra, you know, little flavor on top of it, that's what puts her over the top. And however long they're going to do this thing with Candice, that's fine. That's a good little entry point for her to get the WWE fan base introduced to her and get them into her. But from here, I mean, the sky's the limit as far as like what they could do with her. So I'm really excited to see where this goes because the impression I'm getting is now we made it through this summer, NXT's can break this holding pattern now and going into the fall. Heck, they're taping tonight as we record this. And I haven't seen much about it yet, but I think tonight we're going to see a change in direction as far as getting away from the hand that they've been playing for a while now. We're going to get some new faces. We're going to get some new programs, and it's a chance for a lot of people to step up and never even mind people that weren't on the card, like, of course, Keith Lee, Donovan Dijak, all those types, the breakout tournament finals that just happened last night. So we got a lot of new faces that are starting to get into the mix. So if NXT hasn't been your thing this summer, if you've been kind of waiting, I think what they're going to drop tonight, what they're going to tape for the next couple weeks, should probably get things going in a new direction, is my feeling.
I'm definitely.
Just a side note: is Dijak recovered yet? Is he?
Nah.
He's completely healthy now.
He's there tonight.
Oh, he is?
He's there tonight.
Oh, okay.
I've seen that much already. He is there.
Okay, awesome. I was gonna say, I definitely want to get down to another taping for.
We're playing video games now.
For NXT, that's definitely a good bang for your buck show all day, every day. And prices, which I thought some point was going to try to increase a little, has still been very, very much the same, which is cool. Yeah. But I mean, we can't get off a takeover without talking about the elephant in the room here, Mr. All Day himself. Now, previous shows, and not just previous shows of recent, but of a long time, I've been saying, and I think WWE has known, and especially with the partnership with Evolve, that Austin Theory was the star. It's a star in the making. This guy has it. He has it all. I mean, I've never seen him work face, to be honest, but he legit has it all. And for 22 years old, with a physique like that, a nice skill set, a look, like he has an attitude to, he has a presence. Coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, which I think is important because I think Atlanta, people from Atlanta, just like Harlow, I think these people take a lot of pride into developing their characters since they're in a really big media town and a lot of people who's really pretty much on the idea of what being a contractor or being a self-business owner is. So I think it's kind of embedded in them to say, like, if I'm ever going to make it or do something, I really legit got to work hard. And you see, those are two good examples. But Austin Theory it was the inevitable for him to be in that takeover crowd at some point. And sure enough, it happened. And that guy is officially signed as of yesterday, the 14th, to report to the Performance Center. I'm expecting bigger things for this guy. I'm not expecting a regular blueprint of Performance Center, house shows, then, you know, a couple of appearances and maybe a takeover in like a year or something. I legit feel they're going to put a rocket ship to this guy and get him going right away. I mean, I feel like they're going to treat him almost like as if he's like a world-renowned talent like Kushida, and instantly says like, we're about to use this guy like right now, or Adam Cole of some sort, because the guy legit has it. And considering the showing from that last Evolve show with a ton of talent working up and down that card, I legit think that, you know, this is something that they wanted for a while. But he's been at the Access shows 2 years in a row. He faced Keith Lee, actually. He was the one that dethroned Keith Lee, which ultimately got Keith Lee signed at the first Access show last year at WrestleMania. So they've had their eyes on this guy for a long time, and not just because he was officially signed yesterday. I feel like he was always part of a plan for them, and I'm really legit. I'm happy for the guy, and I think they're gonna legit. It's gonna be a springboard all the way up to the top for him in NXT. I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more Austin Theory really, really soon. I'm not sure what that does with Evolve, because Evolve is still using NXT people. I mean, we got Gulak versus Kushida on the next Evolve show, which is going to be nuts. So probably we'll still see him in Evolve, but if not, and his prime focus is NXT, that's just another spot and somebody for Evolve to step up. And considering this partnership and what they're doing for them, I mean, this is two opportunities in one right now for people. So I'm very interested to see where the rest of this story goes with Austin Theory.
Let me ask you this question too, James, just going back at you. Just a little fun question before I go to my comments of what you just said. Would you say Atlanta or Georgia is the best city and state for wrestling? Like, if you think maybe Ohio is the home state of football, would you say Atlanta or Georgia is the home state of wrestling?
No.
Just curious.
a biased person, because people will say that. No, it's either Chicago or New York when it comes to wrestling, easily.
Okay.
Yeah,
Florida as a closer.
If we're talking about legit promotions,
yeah,
it's Chicago or New York easily, and even Toronto makes an argument now too. Say what?
I'll sleep in Los Angeles.
You think LA got some credit
ever since that building got sold, and you know Lucha Underground kind of went somewhere. I don't really hear much about LA shows nowadays.
Well, we don't live out there, but I'm just saying, like, the Joey Ryan still has like bar wrestling, championship wrestling. Hollywood is still a thing. PWG is still a thing. I mean, Los Angeles definitely has some notable, indie talents, but you know, it's there's a lot of other stuff. Indiana, Crown Point Wrestling and stuff out there in like near Louisville. I mean, there's just a lot of, and obviously, Baltimore with Maryland Championship Wrestling. Outside of Baltimore, the Ring of Honor dojos in Baltimore. Yeah. The Philly, South Jersey area has a lot of good wrestling. So I mean, they're hot pockets. They're hot spots of wrestling. Popping up all over the country. And Toronto.
That's what I was just about to say.
Smash is a hell of a wrestling promotion, and C4 Wrestling in Hamilton, Ontario. Montreal gets down with like ICW. So it's definitely a lot. And I think and obviously Florida, with the whole NXT thing, so there's definitely the territories didn't die; they just evolved into what Evolve is.
Good segue. But
there you go.
I'm gonna get to the point, but in a second. But Krabby, if you could just pick one, what will be your one place if you could just pick one?
Oh, New York.
New York. Okay. So it goes back, what 2 Chainz said, but either New York or Chicago. I get it, but the reason why I just wanted to bring that fun question up.
A lot of talent lives in Florida, but Florida really, I think what is Shine down there or Rise? I forget. One of them
Shine's down. Rise is in Chicago, I think.
Rise is in Chicago, and I believe Shine is in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, right. So it's just a lot of talent lives in Florida without a doubt. But as far as promotions, it's got to be New York for me. And then I will probably put Chicago second. But yeah, it's got to be New York for me.
Yeah, it's not just New York for the indie. It's also New York for the events because they've hosted a bunch of WrestleManias. New Japan did come. Ring of Honor has a yearly show, Manhattan Mayhem in New York, and all the indies like House of Glory, Tier One, Battle Club, and stuff like that. So that's what makes it a thing. And then, of course, the WWE shows that come throughout the New York, the tri-state area.
Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, between the Garden and Barclays, Nassau Coliseum out there in Long Island, the shows in Newark, Southern Connecticut, Westchester. It's a lot of wrestling in the New York, New Jersey, Southern Connecticut area.
Yeah.
But just to go back to your point, James, I'm rooting for Austin Theory from your original point, and I really hope that what you're saying, they could skyrocket him to be that next mega star. But here's my thing when it comes to WWE in this, and WWE has a long history, especially more recent history with this. If they're not homegrown talent where they quote unquote found them first, to me, they don't push them to the max. You think about AJ Styles, you think about Adam Cole, which are great mega stars in their own right. But because they're not WWE homegrown, they won't get that epic push like a Roman Reigns.
Oh, that's what. Well, that's kind of BS because AJ Styles didn't even go to NXT, and everyone else did. That's the biggest exception of all.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to say about that, though.
Go ahead, Will.
Because Austin Theory, since he's hit, he has taken off as far as his whole run in Evolve took off since Gabe Sapolsky has become part of the WWE corporate Florida system. I mean, he's under their umbrella. So Austin Theory, in my mind, is the first guy that they got their eyes on that they then went and said, like, okay, you're young. We absolutely love what you're doing. We got our eye on you. We want you in our pipeline. And our pipeline is Evolve. So we're not ready to give you the NXT deal yet, but we want you to stay in our orbit. We don't want you doing stuff with Mac. We don't want you doing stuff with ROH. We want you in our pipeline. And since our guy has his little company here, we want you with them. And that's where I think he was the first guy that now we're seeing more and more of it, where it's like, you're not quite ready for NXT, but we want you in Evolve. And Evolve is now that feeder system directly into NXT. So I think he is one of their guys in their mind. Okay. It's just he's on their payroll.
And let's not forget, he got the ultimate nod from Mr. John Cena himself.
and you know, Will, that's kind of interesting point that you say that too, because I didn't even think about it in that perspective. And because you put that twist on it, that even makes when NXT, more than likely will move to that FS1 deal, that this is going to become their new, in a way, their OVW all over again with Evolve. And that makes a perfectly good point. And I didn't even see it that way. But even if they do it that way, they have to be consistent to make sure they build this up. Because, literally, you could put Austin Theory and Velveteen Dream as the next generation superstars that can propel them to that next level for the generation that our kids will be raised on. So it could really go that way. And I'm interested to see if the consistency of WWE will allow this to happen. But if Evolve is like that junior pipeline to NXT, that is huge. That is huge. And like you said, he being the first, and then everybody else will flow through that.
Yep. That's I think where we're headed. A lot of people have been saying that for a while. Now we're finally seeing people making the move from Evolve to NXT, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what happens over the next couple years with this as things as they evolve to use that term again. But let's move on to the next night, because there's still a lot of stuff to get to. So let's not. We covered NXT. We're looking to the future. The next night, of course, we had the biggest event of the summer. We had SummerSlam. So the same type of deal. There was a lot of stuff on this show. There was a lot of crazy stuff. There were some surprises. There was some stuff I think that blew some people's minds. Let's 2 Chainz, I'm gonna go right back to you to start it up. SummerSlam. What got your attention at SummerSlam?
I gotta say that there's a couple of things. One, SummerSlam was actually damn good, and it's really surprising that people are finding reasons to be mad at it. From Goldberg match was good. I thought it was actually booked and programmed very well. Make both people look good. Definitely hats off to Dolph for being a professional. Whatever this contract stuff that's floating around out there, who cares? A great showing for the two of them. The build for it and everything I thought was good. We're talking about The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. His interest was spectacular. The music was dope. The whole weight is interesting because they built them up, gave him a little commercials, whatever you want to call it. He was able to be with his newborn. It was cool. It was a legit building process for the ultimate payoff at the end. Thought it was great, but I legit feel that the best thing about SummerSlam. Oh, also too, I forget to mention, I thought some of the stuff they did on the pre-show, which you would never think you would talk about, was pretty good as well too. I also thought the OC kind of hinting at Finn for a reunion was also really intriguing. So I think they worked everything on all angles. Like, for it to be as long as the show as they are, 3.5 hours, it was paced good. I didn't feel dead at the end. And so I just genuinely thought from a complete slate that the show was good. But my biggest points, and all you internet trolls could bite me, Brock fucking Lesnar was amazing. That dude was amazing. I don't want to hear nothing about how bad Brock is, because that dude worked a hell of a match. That's why he gets paid the way he do. People legit love to hate him. He gets he gets the crowd aroused, and just no matter what it is, people are reacting to what he does. He got a chant going on, which I haven't heard in forever, but you can love him, you can hate him, you can boo him, you can cheer him. He gets some type of a reaction from you, and he absolutely earned his check that night, because that was one hell of a match, up and down, for Brock Lesnar comes from SummerSlam.
I totally agree with you on that one. Brock had his working shoes on, and the biggest testament I'll give to that main event is this. When they came out, Seth Rollins, these past couple weeks, he has been flat. He has been boring. And I think people were honestly starting to get into Brock Lesnar just because they were bored by Seth Rollins. But by the end of that match, they turned it, and they got Seth cheered. They had people embracing him. They had his comeback. People were hot for it. By some miracle, him taking down Brock Lesnar again, it worked. I didn't think it was going to work, but it did, one way or another. That was a heck of a match. That was the best Brock Lesnar match probably since the Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles, all the matches he had a while back were with those guys. But for me, that spot where he picked him up by the athletic tape and flung him around the ring, he did a little brother deal on him. He busted out with that big brother strength and just flung him around by the athletic tape like it was nothing. That was the greatest gif I saw all week. That was hilarious. I loved that main event. That main event was the best WWE main event in a while. And a lot of it was really all because of Brock.
You know what's crazy? I was super tempted to say, well, we know how this is going to go. And I was super tempted to just cutting it off and then calling it a night. And I let it ride out, and I was like, damn, I'm glad it did. That was some of the best wrestling I've seen Brock do in a while. And I've always thought Brock was entertaining, but this was like prime Brock without taking crazy chances in the ring. This is just prime. And also too, I think it's important to say Brock physique is back on par. I'm not sure what to accredit to that, but he looks UFC ready, which I always think is an interesting thing. And Dana White still can't get Brock Lesnar's name out his mouth. But Brock looking some of the best shape I've seen him in a while, and I'm very curious what may be going on very soon, because anytime he gets in good shape, he's ready for a fight. And him losing the title is always an interesting thing.
And I would agree with that. Just to add to that, Brock was going to be my biggest thing of the night too. And I'm not going to say too much more because you guys really took the words out of my mouth. Just when you think about Brock when he was back as a full-time wrestler back in like 02, 03 days, he was always a very good storyteller in the ring. He knew how to work. And I don't blame much of him on how he was built for the last like 5 or 6 years when he came back and returned, because I think Vince McMahon wanted him to be built in that type of way. Even take it back to WrestleMania 30 when he beat The Undertaker, that was like the shift where you thought Brock Lesnar was going to be Mr. Unbeatable. But when Brock has to come down to it and work a wrestling match, he always does it well. Truth be told, he always does it safely. And I think that it showed that how much of a performer he really is on this match. And you guys already said it before, so that's why he was my highlight of the weekend when it came to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's what I'm curious about. Do we still have the giant crab on the phone? Is Jamal still with us?
I'm here.
Okay. Did you see The Fiend? I'm curious about.
So there wasn't the only thing about SummerSlam that I even remotely cared about was AJ Styles versus Ricochet.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
And that wasn't enough to get me to not do anything else than to watch SummerSlam. So did I see The Fiend? The short answer is no. I wasn't really into the Firefly Funhouse shenanigans. So I skipped all of that. I do not like Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins is goddamn boring. He's about as interesting as a head of lettuce. So not interested in that. Charlotte versus Trish Stratus. I'm not from Toronto. I don't care. Bayley versus Ember Moon. I would have cared 4 years ago, but this is not that time. Goldberg in 2019 is always a no thank you. And it's another no thank you. So I'm glad that people generally consider SummerSlam to be better than it has been in years. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that everything kind of hit well on all counts and stuff like that. But like if you're selling this to me, the build really hasn't been that great for me, coming into the pay-per-view. So I didn't really have a reason to go into the pay-per-view. So after hearing all of the shouts about The Fiend and about his entrance and about how the Rollins match is actually better than it should have been, the Goldberg match was better than it should have been, and Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon was better than it should have been. It's still, I would definitely watch TakeOver over any of those things. And even in the pre-show, the pre-show wasn't that bad either, because the 205 Live guys can actually produce some very great work. Gulak and Only Lurkin is another interesting match on paper, but it's a pre-show match for the Cruiserweight Championship. There wasn't just enough, meat in the stew for me to even look in the pot.
I can hear that, because the build to SummerSlam, it was definitely weak. This year had a very weak build compared to a lot of years. Going into the show, I would say I was only really kind of invested and very excited about stuff like Trish and Charlotte that we just mentioned. I was really excited about that. Goldberg and Ziggler, I was curious about. I wouldn't say I was necessarily excited about it, but I was curious about it. And I'll say this. You all know how I feel about Dolph Ziggler. That was the best use of him I've seen in ages. It was perfect. It was the perfect use of him, and it was the perfect use of Goldberg, where essentially it was like, we're just going to go out there. You guys are going to do a Monday Nitro match, and it's going to be over in 2 minutes, and Goldberg's just going to be WCW Goldberg, and Ziggler's going to be a tackling dummy, and it was fine. It was perfectly fine for what it was. Trish, for 43 years of age, a mother, if that's her last match, she can go out with her head held high. That was a heck of a match, really fun. Charlotte made her look good. She held her own. I thought that match was really good. I really enjoyed Trish and Charlotte. And Lord knows, The Fiend is Bray Wyatt's another guy I have never been crazy about for a very, very long time. But even I will give that man props. That whole introduction of The Fiend, the entrance, the presentation, everything about it is probably the best entrance WWE has done since they first brought up Balor with the whole demon thing when he first did it the first time. I'm really curious to see where they go with that, and something that I think they did that is really, really smart. We have not seen him since SummerSlam. He was not on Raw. He was not on SmackDown in any form. Keep the mystery around Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. And heck, I would even say this one, maybe even go so far that On regular TV, for the most part, you get Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, and the Fiend maybe just attacks people. And otherwise, other than that, you don't see the Fiend wrestle unless it's on paper.
I like that. That's old school build.
Keep it special.
Yeah. I got a few things to add. You talk about Trish Stratus. I gotta say that it felt really Shawn Michael-ish. If that's being her last match, perfect. That's on a high note. Please don't come back and wrestle, because that's such a high mark to be left off on. You don't really want to target that. It's like Jerome Bettis, Marcellus. I'm getting everything messed up right now. Marcellus loves his football analogy. So let's talk about Jerome Bettis when he won the Super Bowl for Pittsburgh, hometown. Retire there, please. Just retire. Leave it on a great note like that. No reason to come back another season. Same thing with Peyton Manning. No reason to come back for another season. Once you win it all, and you're at your point, you should do so. There's something else we ain't talk about, but I'll bring it up in one quick second. Can anybody that's listening to this show, can y'all have a 5 seconds moment of silence for Jamal and Will for giving props to two people that they legit are bored of, and AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler? I, for a second, felt my heart beat an extra beat, because I cannot believe, and it's so crazy when I was watching the match. I was like, God, this is a good match. But I know Jamal's going to hate it because he's sick of AJ Styles. And he brought it up and said that was the only thing look, good wrestling is good wrestling. And if somebody's able to elevate and really diversify their skill set, then so be it. And I do think that AJ Styles legit worked a different match against Ricochet. Somebody he's been working for years. So the fact that they were able to do it on one of the biggest stages in WWE, and they were able to really, be comfortable with themselves and get back to some things that we've seen in PWG and other stuff in the past. It was really refreshing that they were able to do that, even at their current state in their career. But the big thing that we have not talked about, and I really think that this show probably is going to be dealing with a lot of the fact of the comeback or the new beginnings, whatever it may be. I don't know how big other people may be making this, but the fact that Edge was able to make contact in the ring and performing a spear is a really big thing, because we know he has the neck injury. Not saying, hey, I need Edge back in the ring, because I was never really a big Edge fan, but it's fine. But it's always good to hear when you're talking about neck injuries that a person's able to do something that they love, and that either the healing, the medicine, or whatever it may be to get them to the point that they are even able to do anything with contact. Even though it's his trademark move he's been doing for years, even though Elias is a professional in WWE, it is still contact in the ring, and there's still a liability there. And the fact that he was still able to execute it, and it really looked at full thrust. Like, it looked like he laid it in it. I think that's a really, really big thing. And what I took from that is that, considering that he is at some form or shape cleared, not saying maybe WWE standard clear, but maybe clear for contact, it's a big thing. Considering that Paige is saying that she's going back for another neck surgery, and she seems to be in high spirits, and she's making social media messages about it. It makes me feel like when it comes down to neck injuries now, that, the medicine may be catching up to the point of maybe giving some of these people a second chance. And I think we're here talking about one of the most gruesome injuries of maybe all of wrestling, and especially as of recent. The fact that we seen, I cannot even believe I'm even about to say this, but the fact that we seen Shibata back in the ring this weekend is incredible. It's incredible. There's no way that guy should be doing anything. Yeah. And he looks like, not only is he back with contact, he looks like he's plugged to go. Like, they are instantly inserting him, and that is, I mean, that's is as big as a miracle as it get. But I'm really thinking, like, at this point now, like, there must be some really big investments going on that's getting some of these people second chances that you would have never thought of. So That's something really big for SummerSlam. I don't think a lot of people were really talking about, and it was on the pre-show, so there's that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's a perfect transition to go into the subject of returns, because Lord knows after SummerSlam, the week became all about returns. You just mentioned Shibata Monday morning that was probably the biggest shocker. Well, it might be right up there with the other return. There was some debate this week, which was the bigger return, and they're both big in their own way in my mind. Shibata coming back from straight up what pretty much now we know is near death, that he nearly almost died when he faced Okada from that darn headbutt, and that he literally had bleeding on the brain and managed to survive. We don't know if he's back completely for real, but what they did in the G1 finals with that 6-man tag, and he got in there against Kenta and laid out the Bullet Club and did a bunch of spots, threw some drop kicks, looked like he didn't miss a step at all. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, please let this be a possibility that even if it's just one more match, even if it's just one time only, him against Kenta, maybe at the Tokyo Dome, since they're doing 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome in January, even if it's a one-time thing and you manage to do it, it would be amazing. I hope it happens, but heck, he put it this way: he did more than Edge did. Edge did one. He did more than Edge did, and I mean, bleeding on the brain. That in a lot of ways, I'm like, I mean, if he was near death and Edge got a messed up neck, I mean, they're both severe injuries, but one sounds more severe to me than the other of the two.
By a mile.
So,
it's amazing too.
Oh, we don't know.
Go ahead, Will. No, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up, and then y'all can get in here. Yeah, like I'm crossing my fingers. If nothing more happens, and that was like our last little taste. It was amazing. Like the emotions behind that moment were awesome. But I'm hoping there's some hope here. There's a glimmer of hope that we can get one last run for Shibata, because oh my God, that guy's on another level. It'd be amazing. Get in here.
And just to add to it, it's just an emotional thing, because you guys just said it. It's like it's 2 huge injuries that are almost life-threatening. When you could talk about one wrong turn to the neck and somebody could be paralyzed, or if you have bleeding in the brain and somebody can die. That's what makes the emotional appeal of those returns so much more powerful. But at the same time, it to me as a fan, like even when I saw Edge do that spear, it was like, oh my gosh, don't do anything wrong. Don't do anything wrong. Even when Daniel Bryan or Paige, when we saw them try to return like their early times, like anytime they fail, like do they have numbness going on? Do they have tingling? It's so scary. But these guys, they live their lives the way they want to. They have to perform the way they want to. So it's like, as an emotional, it's just so heartening to see. You don't want anything to go bad, but it's so joyous to see, for them to come back and be strong and be capable to do those moments. It just makes it even more impactful. So I agree with you guys said. The returns makes it such an emotional pull about what these guys go through on a day-to-day basis of how they train. It's just amazing. Because if it was me, and if I know my neck is hurting, and I made all my money, and I made in the Hall of Fame, you will not catch me on anywhere near WWE or wrestling programming. I love you, but I'll be sitting in that front row seat, and I'm not going to get anywhere near that ring. I'm just saying.
Well, there was one more return the following night on Raw, and Lord knows we've been wondering if this one was going to happen. We were wondering if it was all been a work or what, and we still don't really know what happened. But Monday night, about 10 o'clock, just what Raw was doing pretty good. It was all right. There was nothing really crazy on it. But then the bottom fell out, because I was not expecting Natalya to come out.
Can I just tell you, I just don't like Natalya. Just
Natalya's
born. I know, just yeah. All right, but keep going.
Yeah. No.
Boring.
Yeah, she's like AJ Styles.
Oh my God.
Oh.
If AJ Styles had a cat, he'd be Natalya.
That's a heck of an analogy there, and I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I was not ready for it. It caught me off guard when the music hit. But first time since WrestleMania, she is back. The boss is back. Sasha Banks is back with a new look, a new attitude that I have not seen since NXT. And she got Becky in the crosshairs. And if somehow you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard about this or seen it yet since it happened Monday, I know it blew up pretty good. It got some mainstream publicity. It got in some lot of entertainment coverage and stuff. I mean, Sasha has. Yeah, apparently it did.
I know that.
I heard it got some coverage, like in some places like E and places like that. So I don't know, Sasha, for whatever reason, maybe it's just because the rumors surrounding where she's been or what's up, it got some publicity. So, but she's back. She's going against Becky. She's got that new blue hair, and it's the Sasha that I love from NXT. So I'm excited. I'm very excited.
First of all, people, be nice to Kiera Hogan. Like the Sasha marks out there, like people can have the same color hair. It's okay. And I just think all that was just completely whatever. Jamal, I know you want to go and say something.
Do you mean they're not the same person?
You can have that one. You can have that. But the answer by far is no. Heck no.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I've just learned something. As far as Sasha Banks returning, sure, it was a surprise. Her return as a heel, definitely a welcome surprise. But as WWE, and I still believe that they're in a holding pattern until after Labor Day before they start sprinkling the seeds, definitely for October. If they're in a holding pattern, then so am I. I haven't really been given a reason to watch. So we'll just wait and see. And if they come up with something interesting, I hear about it. And if they don't, I hear there's a little T-shirt company that started a wrestling promotion that's going to have a show coming up at the end of the month. So, that's one of the things that's been really interesting about the last 2, 3, 4 weeks is that there's just so much wrestling on TV now. Where if WWE doesn't have what you need, then somebody else does. MLW does, or Impact does, or Ring of Honor. Well, sorry, but still, it's the idea that there's so much wrestling on, and not to be fair, like Ring of Honor still has like some great your wrestling if you can find it. But yeah, with Sasha Banks coming back, it's just I don't really care. Her coming back as a heel, I still don't care because it doesn't seem like that WWE is ready to build women stars. There how many women on the main roster? And they only really talk about 4 of them. And now 5 for Sasha Banks.
Don't forget who invented women's wrestling too.
Defend their belts.
I miss Stephanie, by the way.
Well, she invented women's wrestling.
Yeah, just bring her back. Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. I'm definitely with you on this. Like Sasha coming back, who cares? Her and all her crime while she was gone. Who cares?
I'm gonna say who cares. I'm just saying that I'm not saying who cares. I'm just saying that I don't care yet. Because it's not really given a reason to care. Because now it's about show and prove. Sasha Banks, honestly, before she left, didn't really, she wasn't putting out the best matches. She was kind of a shell of her NXT self, which is not uncommon for NXT call-ups to the main roster. But I was kind of losing, favor in what she was putting out. Yeah, same thing with Mr. Bliss, same thing with Becky Lynch, same thing with Bayley. And now we just have, what do we have? The bottom line is that I'm waiting for Shayna Baszler to come out there and mollywop all of them. But and that's unfortunate because in 6 months, if Shayna Baszler comes out on Monday, in 6 months, and this will be just after the Royal Rumble, I guess, we'd be like, well, sure. I guess she's going to be in the Mae Young Classic, or she's going to be in the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal or whatever for WrestleMania. Because it really doesn't seem to be invested in women's storylines. Like none of the women are getting major storylines that aren't based on friendship or or something like that, or somebody said something like Natalya came out on Monday and said like, well, a year ago I lost my father.
And they booed her. They legit booed her.
They did on that. And she's in Canada.
Well, I mean, but she's not from Toronto. She's from Calgary. So no one cares. I mean, that would be like saying, like, hey, let's bring out a real American in, Chicago, and then bring out Hulk Hogan, who's from Tampa.
Yeah.
No one cares.
To that point, though, whenever I say that she was in Canada, I always like to, with the whole perception that Canadians are nice. I know she's not from Toronto, but either way, they booed her out the gym on a very sensitive thing that she said. I was like, jeez. I mean, for a second, you would have thought they were in Chicago at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, like, honestly, and I'm not being dead serious right now. WWE is going to have to pull out something that's amazing. And for me, when I watch wrestling matches, I'm not watching for the story. I don't really care who the characters are. I'm watching for the actual wrestling, the ring work, bell to bell.
Mm-hmm.
But WWE doesn't give you that. They give you a lot of spectacle in some wrestling.
Well,
so that's why I don't watch it.
Well,
but until they give me something that where you go like, oh no, that match is great and you need to watch it, I can't get invested to WWE until they come out with whatever the shenanigans is in October, which will be the SmackDown reunion show for Fox.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just my last marks on Sasha, because I think there's a good segue here on this, is that she's back. We'll see what happens. She's a heel. Everybody wanted her to be a heel. Maybe she wanted to be a heel. Who cares? All social media stuff. Her hair is blue now, and she's a bad person, and she wants Becky Lynch because you chased the title. Hopefully, she puts Natalya on the show because Natalya's arm was in the sling. Then it wasn't in the sling. Then it wasn't hurt. And hopefully the storyline is that Natalya's off TV, and that would also be the best thing Sasha could have done in her return. But talking about wrestling now, I know I might be out here really pulling ties because there's no way I'm gonna get Jamal to say anything positive about this.
You're ready.
But you talking about a legit wrestling match that Monday? Oh, I'm sorry, that week, as in Tuesday night on SmackDown. That Roman Reigns and Buddy Murphy match.
Oh, throw your whole fucking phone in the trash. Just throw your whole computer setup in the trash. I'll see you next week. I'm about to send Montgomery County to your door because clearly you're drunk on the internet.
He already said something nice about AJ. This was hoping for too much.
little Jamal, like it or not. Buddy Murphy, welcome to the main roster, buddy.
Buddy was on the main roster since WrestleMania.
I am saying, well, one, he hasn't had a match on the main roster then, but the win is that everyone knows that name, that dude's name. Like he said, he put on a hell of a match there. He put on a hell of a match. He's put on some great matches. Huh?
What is this? Is October, November. If we give a damn about Buddy Murphy come Royal Rumble, I'll eat my hat.
I mean, I don't like those odds either. But
there's Pig with Alexa Bliss.
I don't like those odds either. But that match on Tuesday was
banging.
Very good. Yeah.
To be fair, I haven't seen it because why in the blue hell would I watch a Roman Reigns match on purpose?
Well, I
love him.
I definitely challenge you to take a look at it. It was a really good match, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't know if there's anything else to say about Raw. But
I would trust your judgment that there is a Roman Reigns match that doesn't absolutely suck an unclipped dick. So that's fine. I will take your advice and watch a Roman Reigns match on purpose. There's a first time for everything.
All right, and also too, I will say that this is a good Roman Reigns match that wasn't on pay-per-view with all his pay-per-view Super Roman shenanigans. It was just a flat out good match. It was not overhyped with the a billion finishers and all that and so forth. It's just a really, really, really good match. And the thing I'm really starting to get irritated about with paying attention to wrestling groups online is the people saying this person deserve it, this person deserve it, by whatever metrics and standards of the past, where there's really no metrics or standards of the past. Like people like Sasha deserves a title shot because she's been whatever. I don't even care. When I think about the fact that people really banking on themselves, using social media for to try to book matches for themselves. And the fact that Buddy Murphy called out Roman, they instantly give him the storyline, they instantly give him the match. That's one of those like you deserved it type of thing because you legit put in the work to try to get that to happen, and he capitalized on every single second of being in that match. And I think that was like he got his money's worth. The fans got his money worth. It was a legit match. Like I was so thoroughly surprised, and it wasn't just the fact that I didn't think he could wrestle. It's the fact that he took the moment to spotlight with one of WWE's biggest stars, and he didn't choke at all. He did his thing, and it was a great match. But yeah, that's legit all I gotta say about that. 'Cause I know we're probably coming up on time at some point.
But I like the way you phrase that. You're actually selling a Roman Reigns match by selling Buddy Murphy. I see what you did there.
That's true. But two quick things I want to add to that too, and I think Raw's doing the same thing as SmackDown because you got two cruiserweight guys. That's it. Yeah. So Cedric Alexander, give him props the way he did against Drew McIntyre for like 2 weeks now. Buddy Murphy, if he got that chance, he'll do the same thing. But let me pause it there and just retrospect back to why WWE was great. When you think about the time when you had the WCW versus WWF at the time with the Monday Night Wars, WWF did something different that WCW wasn't doing. They allowed their smaller wrestlers, cruiserweights, to get big-time chances and be successful. Think of Eddie Guerrero. Think of Chris Jericho. Think of Rey Mysterio. Once they left that quote-unquote cruiserweight reign when it was in WCW and got a chance to do something against these bigger-time guys, even a name that we can't mention on here when he became champion,
they
all did.
Who can?
You made me wrong. The Canadian Crippler / murderer.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that guy.
They all did their things as quote unquote little people against big timers with big time titles on the line where they were successful. And I think the more of you give these guys who may be more littler in size or weight against some of these bigger guys, they can hold their own and they could be champions. So that's why, in a way, when we love the Cruiserweight Classic when it came out, it was great because it got a chance for a lot of these guys to get exposed. But put these guys against the bigger guys and they'll hold their own. And they're showing that now with Buddy Murphy and with Cedric Alexander of what they're doing in their current programs.
Absolutely.
Right. Let me ask you this as a counterpoint to what you just said. Not that I disagree with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's just that what does the Cruiserweight Classic do for anyone currently?
That's a good point. It really hasn't grown a lot, but the chance that these two, even Mustafa Ali, give him credit because he was about to get the Kofi push before he got hurt. When you give these guys a chance to do something like that, they really can show that the versatility of their wrestling styles can be compatible against, somebody like a Drew McIntyre size, even somebody like a Brock Lesnar. Like the Daniel Bryan match, the Finn Balor match wasn't terrible.
But that's the most disappointing thing about WWE for me is that we know who we have on paper. And unfortunately, WWE presents their wrestling in their way and their style, which may not be in the best fit. I mean, to use a football analogy, it's not just getting into the league; it's playing for the right team that's going to utilize your skill set. So when I see an AJ Styles, who we can all agree that at one point was great, that is, for me, not the case right now. But maybe that's just because in this capacity, he's not being the best AJ Styles. I don't think he is, but people were different. But that's with everyone. And there's a reason why they got there. The problem problem that I have with WWE isn't the fact that they're just misusing guys, is that they're just buying the indies to play keep away from other companies to make business.
Agreed.
So that's another thing that's like low key
also
problematic towards the business. So you have a guy like Luke Harper, who we can all agree is a pretty talented guy. On the indies when he had his moments in WWE, and now he's just on the shelf for no reason because of a contract dispute. Well, if you can't work here, you can't work anywhere. So Vince McMahon is like, I started with this, and that's just that's just the way he does business, and it is what it is. It's not fine, it's what it is. But that's kind of the problem, and that's why when you look at the biggest, most unexpected things, James Ellsworth nearly beating AJ Styles.
Yep.
That was one of those things that was like, oh, that was a moment. That was an indelible moment in time. Ziggler beating Alberto Del Rio. You'll never get a pop like that on his wedding night. So it is one of those things where you do see someone, Ray Jr. winning the WWE Championship, Benoit and Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 20, I believe. Obviously Vince has his type. That's why they have, Roman Reigns is the next Hulk Hogan, who is the next John Cena, who is, and so on and so forth. But that's the type that he has. And he's always, to the day he dies, that's going to be his guy. That's why John Heidenreich got a push. But so it's not that people don't do the work. And that we all think that they can. There isn't anybody in the ring that's not like actual shit wrestler, except even Maurice, who's gone. I think the problem is that people just try to make the best of what their WWE career is. And as we've seen, it may not be the best opportunity. And sometimes you'll have to go to where their better opportunity is. We've seen Jon Moxley do it. We thought that Sasha Banks was going to do it, and maybe she is. We don't know what her contract situation is. She could, fill out her run for the next 8 months and then keep it moving. But it's just like it's frustrating to watch a person that's talented like a Ricochet and then go, but they won't let him be Ricochet. They won't let him from here.
They definitely let him be Ricochet. That's just. I hope that was just like a hypothetical, example because
they're not giving Ricochet 20 minutes in a in a super high. We're not going to see a Ricochet versus Will Ospreay type match in WWE.
I mean, you will eventually, but while he's working every night and house shows,
working every night, but that doesn't make it good though.
Yeah, I'm just saying you're not going to get 20-minute matches out of him every night. But his moveset is by far has not decreased at all. He's doing all the stuff he used to do, and also this might be for debate. Maybe Mustafa Ali, but there's not a Ricochet-ish counterpart on that main roster waiting for him.
It used to be, but they got rid of him because they didn't know how to use him.
Who?
If you want to think about Neville.
Yeah, I guess but they were never they were never signed together. But there was no counterpart for him to put on an Ospreay type of match. Maybe Mustafa Ali, which I think probably could.
Cedric could put Cedric Hill because he's always good as a
maybe even Buddy as a base for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Saw this week.
That's true.
Buddy's
such a unique figure.
But I think we can generally agree on this. WWE may have currently the best roster, top to bottom, between NXT and all of their other tertiary brands ever. You like that word, didn't you?
I did. It's a school word. Welcome back to school.
But in all of their other side hustles, they are the best wrestling company, most stacked roster on paper in the world. Period.
Agreed.
And why do we constantly debate that people aren't being used to their even 70% potential? Pick a name. And we always talk about how, damn, I remember this thing in NXT, and now it's not that thing anymore.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. These people got here because of the work they've been doing all the years, without a doubt. And you get your wrestling by however your means of you getting wrestling. YouTube, going to indie shows, rumors, GIFs, whatever you want to call it. Vine, I don't care. Twitter, whatever it may be. Tout, of course. Whatever it may be.
Twitch.
But at this point now, considering the schedule that these guys have to endure, they can't give you. They have to, for longevity. You have to decline or not decrease your potential for the big moments. I mean, if you're gonna come to DC and you're gonna give me a show and what's that in Upper Marlboro?
Showplace Arena.
Showplace Arena. I better get Showplace Arena quality wrestling because
don't sleep on that arena.
I mean, you may
good wrestling too.
You may get one good match, but I know I'm getting Showplace Arena, Eagle Bank Arena, the arena that I'm never going to go to, and Royal Farms Arena. I know I'm going to get that much type of wrestling considering where it's going to be at. So, it would be crazy for some people to go out there and say, well, got Monday night oh wait, I got whatever the little stipulation thing they call. Oh, I got to go to SmackDown Tuesday. Then I got a house show Wednesday, and I'm about to give 100 on all three. Absolutely not. There's not a portable ice bath
No, no,
waiting
no,
for
no,
me,
no,
sir.
no. See, nobody's talking about the work rate. I think what my point is in general is about the workers themselves. They're not being put in the position to be the best selves by and large. There are obviously exceptions to that rule, and you could argue that Ricochet is that guy. You could argue that Kevin Owens is that guy. And I'm not obviously not talking about WWE homegrown talent like a Rollins or Roman Reigns and stuff like that. But when you see a match like, the hell is his name? Antonio
Buddy
Cesaro
Murphy.
versus Antonio Cesaro versus Aleister Black, and you go, oh, this is going to be good on paper, and it was, absolutely was. But then what? Like Cesaro hasn't been relevant in a while. I know that Sheamus is hurt, and he's probably done, but still, it's just disappointing. It's disheartening to see that kind of is what it is, considering how much talent they have, where they just have 6-man tags with the same, 6 people.
Yeah, it's always the mystique of what you may get in a match. I get that, and I feel like, when you look on paper, it's always a roll of the dice of what grade level you're going to get out of them. And, again, considering that the workload these guys got, that I feel like sometimes they're really bad because they know that live to fight another day. Also, the biggest thing, which I was going to say earlier, which I just remember now about watching the pre-show, which is so annoying, is that you know how much time you actually know when to start speculating when this match is going to end. So when it comes to Monday Night Raw, considering the hour marks there's also that speculation of like, well, you probably not going to get much out of this match because they promoted like 5 other matches after this, and they're going to have to bring this person out to do some speech or whatever. This is probably going to be a C grade level match at this point. So, I get it. But at the same time, I firmly believe that everybody that's on this roster has the potential to always elevate to that A level when the time is needed. So and I guess that's part of watching it week to week. Like, I watch for the storylines, but I look for the diamond in the rough when you do get that really good Roman Reigns and Buddy Murphy match that you didn't see coming out of nowhere, and then boom, it's there. Now Jamal has to watch it when this is over. So
yeah, I mean that's really all we can ask for really this week is like Murphy and Reigns had that rare match where there was no loser in that match. Reigns may have won the match, but Buddy got to the most exposure he's ever got in his career. He looked great. He came out of that match looking like a star. They both were elevated by that match. Hell, even Roman Reigns was elevated in the respect that people don't like him are like, oh damn, he did good in that match. He gave Buddy Murphy a lot of spotlight and all this. So they both gained from that match. It's not too often you see that, but when it happens, it's really damn cool. Now, how they follow it up, I don't know. I hope they do right by Buddy Murphy because that's a once in a lifetime performance that we saw.
Well, they
Tuesday.
They did right by Roman too and gave him that contract extension though. So we'll see about that.
There you go.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Okay.
That's no surprise. We knew that was
It's not. It's not.
That is what it is. They got to have him locked up for that Fox Sports deal. Get him on there talking or something. I think all that's left that I wanted to touch on, since we're heading into AEW season, since we're all of about maybe a month and a half out now or so from the October premiere that we will be in the building for after the nightmare of trying to get tickets.
Nightmare on Ticketmaster Street.
We'll find out about Nightmare on Ticketmaster Street Part 2 tomorrow because dates 2 and 3 are going on sale tomorrow in Boston and Philadelphia. So they're starting out in the Northeast in smaller buildings for those next 2 shows. They haven't said anything past the 3rd show yet, but that's the plan. They're starting in the Northeast. They got Philly, they got Boston, and of course they got DC. I thought it was really interesting that they held off on announcing Philly till way after they sold out DC. Because got Philly people coming down here.
If no one's gonna pat him on the back, I will. Jamal called that from a long shot. He said, "People in Philly, stay in your area because it's coming your way." He knew it, and that's exactly where it's at. And just like I said too, no point of announcing other shows. Get this one sold out. And sure enough, right to Philly they went and bossed the Nets. So it is what it is. Good luck, people in those areas, because those bots or those what they call them, the people that resell, I don't even, they got a specific name. I forget.
Heathens.
Heathens. You're right. Good luck, because they're vulturing hard. These guys are vulturing hard. And to any advice, give a close eye to your Ticketmaster regularly, because tickets will pop up. Because like I know from the past and other things, if you improperly order too many tickets, Ticketmaster will refund you and will put them back in circulation. So trying to get a whole bunch of tickets or whatever, it will catch up to you if those emails and that address comes up under 2 different accounts. So you better watch out. So yeah, it was a nightmare for us. We figured it out. Tickets popped up on like a regular Monday around like, I don't know, 4 and something.
Yeah, it was the middle of the afternoon.
Yep, just regular, just popping up out there, and and
okay, so it did pop up for you. I actually went down to the Verizon Center, whatever the hell it's called now, and I actually bought my tickets at the box office.
Nice.
Because I went on Ticketmaster, early in the morning, and it said the tickets were available. So on my lunch break, walked down to the building, said, "What do you got?" And I am, got some pretty decent seats in the club level that I'm pretty happy about. And the service charge was how much, guys?
I don't even care to talk about that, to be honest.
No, but I do.
It's like close to probably like what, $20 or something?
Yeah.
$2.
Well, that's right, because you got them at the box office. You're cutting out Ticketmaster. You're paying the box fee. That's
exactly
right. If only. See, I was Lakeside, Montana, trying to get a signal on my phone.
Yeah, I was.
Dude gave me the alert, trying to get it to work to get the ones that we ended up getting.
I was literally going through customs, and they were getting so pissed about me being on my phone. I was like, "Let me put this away."
It was a small miracle I got that thing to work on the shady internet out there.
Yeah.
But it went. We're in the club level also. I think we ended up with good seats. We're right above the darn hard camera, so it's going to be a nice spot. And they ran all the $75 and then the fees on top of that. But,
I think I got 109, but I had to do the resale route.
Are you going too?
Yeah, I'm be there. I'm like in 109. Me and my boy going.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so we'll all be in the building for the premiere to see what the heck happens. For honestly, as I've been telling people, that really is the most important show of the year as far as like business goes.
Yes.
It's really all on the line for them with that show. It's bigger than any of their
I respectfully disagree, because I think the biggest show of the year is going to be All Out, because that's going to be your go home show for TV.
That's
I
true.
think because
you might have a point
as All Out ends, that's where you begin to sprinkle the seeds on the YouTube, series and Twitter and all of those things. And if you come out of All Out stumbling or not interested enough in the next thing, well, the next thing is TV. That's it. This is the 4th game of the preseason. So I think it's kind of like they have to kill it in All Out, because this is the show on pay-per-view worldwide, that's going to give you, this is your last taste before it gets real. So it's kind of like at the last game of preseason, you kind of go, well, this is what our team is going to look like. Now, after seeing that, we can actually assess the season based on what the starting roster is going to look like. And Cody put out the 2 Nightmare Family videos, the Road to All Out, one yesterday, one earlier today. Which is kind of cool that it's 2 a week. Being the Elite is a thing, and they've definitely announced some signees and some matches and stuff like that. Some matches have been announced for other things, but do your homework online if you want to see what it's about. The bottom line is that if All Out doesn't kill it, because this is the sophomore show after All In, it's gotta really, 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 knock it out of the park, so that we are excited for TV.
Very true. Very true. My thinking, you're right about that. My thinking was just like, then once they get to TV, they have to hit a damn Grand Slam home run on that first show. It's like any cards they have up their sleeve, they have to play on that show to get people who are tuning in for the first time interested. That's just my thinking. But we got time until that happens. We're a good month and a half away, and I'm surprised we got through everything this darn quick, honestly, with the amount of stuff that's happened in the last couple days. I got everything down I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else, gentlemen? I think we hit all the big points as far as I can tell.
Good to go.
Nope. See you guys next week. We'll be back for sure.
All right, Dale. Two Chains, Silly Celis, the Giant Crab Jamal. We're all here. The Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, dropping shows every week. We back in effect, and check it on BigGoldBelt.com, of course, and on @BGB Group on the Twitter machine. Of course, you got the Facebook group. All the links included in the podcast description, as always. And we'll be back in another week to keep talking about the crazy wrestling action. Go watch that Roman Reigns and Buddy Murphy match, Jamal. You gotta watch. See you next week, folks.